Okay, today we have to bring you from easy kind of factoring, which was like this, and you'd go like this, 2xx plus x equals 0, and then you'd go, what's in common? They both have an x, perfect. You're on top of it. And then if they both have an x, I like to circle them, and then pull that out to the front. Then I cross off those, cross off, and I put in 2x plus, you need a placeholder 1 there, 2x plus 1. Are you with me so far? Does this make sense? This is what we've done so far. No, this is just me reminding you how this worked. So now you're going to say, okay, so then there's two equations, x equals 0 and 2x plus 1 equals 0. Two little mini equations, both of which can solve easy. That's already solved. And this one, and then there. That's about as fast as I have ever done them in here, but I'm just trying to remind you, you know how to do these. They're simple little equations you've solved since the beginning of the year. But what's different today is that you will have problems like this. And what's different about those is they don't have anything in common. Look at that. There's nothing in common, and yet there's still a way to factor them. All right, write this one down, please. I'll pause for a second while you get this one written down. Right. So here we go. I want you to put two parentheses underneath it and say equals 0. Try that first. Put two parentheses. Now, I think somebody in here is going to remember how to start those parentheses. F? There's no F. Oh, F. X. You meant X when you said, well, anyway. So X, you are correct. Why? Because X times X is going to make the X squared part. And then all you got to remember for right now, while they're still easy, because we are going to move up to eventually challenging ones, but these two question marks have to add, or no, multiply to this. What multiplies to 4?
1 and 4.
1 times 4 makes 4. Now, was there something else that multiplies to 4? 2 and 2. But how do we know which one's which? You don't. Now, I know there's other ways, if there's any teachers watching this, I know there's other ways you can show people which ones to use, but I'm going to just encourage you to know that there's two ways to do it, and you try one. How will you know if you're right? If you multiply it out, and it gives you this. Yes, you are correct. All right, just try to stay focused. That times that makes x squared. Now multiply it all out. There's 4 parts, and then you add parts together. See if this one worked. If it worked, it comes out to this. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Okay, you're multiplying this thing out. Remember this? I'll pause for a second while you multiply that. Okay, so I'm recording again, and we just did x times x made x squared. X times 4 made 4x. That's this part. Now I got 2 of my 4 parts. Now there's 2 more. I'll use my highlighter here to show you really clear. Highlighter. Now I'm going to take this one times this one, and what does that give me? 1x. Excellent. And now I'll use a different color highlighter. That one. And now I'm going to do this one times that one. What does that make? 4. And now, which two can go together? KM. Exactly. And what do they make? 5x. So now I'm going to rewrite it. X squared plus 5x plus 4 equals 0. And isn't that exactly what we started with?
No.
Look at x squared plus 5x plus 4 equals 0. It is exactly what we started with, so it worked.
What?
Let me tell you, if you had stuck in a 2 here and a 2 here, it would not have worked. We would have multiplied it all out and it wouldn't have worked. So we were just checking to see if it worked, and it worked. So the bad thing about this is that now I don't need all of that. All I really needed was to factor it. Now I did all that work just to see if I did it right. Do you think that's worth it? Well, you have to decide. If you want to just take a guess at it and not be sure if you're right, that is a lot faster. But You won't know if you're doing it right. Okay? So that's why I always check them to make sure they're right. Now I can say x plus 1 equals 0 and x plus 4 equals 0. Those are little bite-sized mini equations. Mr. WT, solve one of them. What do I do to solve one of those little mini bite-sized equations? Shh. He can do it. He can do it.
-4.
Okay, like a -4 and -4, and what do you get?
You get -4.
X equals -4. And then, the other one?
X equals -1.
Yep, subtract 1 from both sides, x equals -1. There's my two answers. That is beginning to end on solving an equation with factoring. And that is it's not a high-level algebra skill, but for algebra, that is a super important skill. Honestly, I have only said this a couple times this year. This is one of the top 5, and just for perspective, you already know somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 little things you've been taught since kindergarten in math. Like there's almost 1,000 little things. And this is one of the top 5 out of 1,000 things you've been taught that are going to be the most important in moving on. So if you don't totally get it yet, that's okay, but we need you to totally get it. Factoring is huge as you go into higher level math classes. What's the math class after this or what? All right. It's a good question. Basically, what I have to get you through for the rest of this unit is more complicated ones to factor. This was an easy one to factor. There'll be more complicated ones. Can we talk about what's the next unit after this later? Because I actually have to look it up. Yes, you may. All right. So, hardcore factoring just involves one extra step. You have to wait till he's back. He beat you. If you had 2x squared plus 4x plus 2, write that one down. You remember how on the last one there was nothing in common?
Yeah.
For this one there is. What is in common in all of them?
They both have an X, man.
No, they don't all have an X. That 2 doesn't. But they all have a 2. Do you get how this has a 2? And that has a 2 times 2. And that has a 2. They all have a 2. So everybody factor the 2 out front. And let's see what you'd have left when you take the 2 out of everything. When I take this 2 out, I just have x squared. When I take this 2 out, it's kind of complicated. I have to do a little surgery. First, I have to replace the 4 with a 2 times 2. Then I can take out a 2. Once I take out one of the 2's to bring out to the front here, I'm really dividing it by 2. And I get 2x. And this is a plus. And then the last one, there's only a 2. How do I take a 2 out of that? I can say times 1. And then I can take the 2 out to the front. And that leaves behind a what? A 1. The 2 gets taken out. And it leaves behind a 1. There. But wait. There's more. Why? Because I can make one of these deals. And this one is the easiest kind of them all because there's only one choice for here and here. Say it if you know it. X. And there's only one choice for this times this to make 1. You know why? Because there's only one thing that makes 1. 1 times 1. Exactly. So this has to be a 1 and that has to be a 1. All right. So next, I have to get... Talk later, please. We have to get this solved. What do I mean by solved? I know that at the end the answer is x equals this and x equals that. Now, if you're smart enough to realize this is x plus 1 equals 0, which isn't that hard, you just set it equal to 0, then I hope you're smart enough to realize that's identical. Do you really think I want you to do the exact same thing twice? No. I only have to do one of them, and that's this one. I could do it twice and I just get the same answer again. That'd be kind of dumb. So let's just get the one answer. Subtracting 1, x equals -1. That's the answer, and I did it by factoring. And this one had a GCF in front. Now that is everything you have to know for for the test. That doesn't mean the test is tomorrow. We got to practice this to get good at it. But that's it. If you can factor something out of everything, it goes to the front. And then if you can factor with two parentheses, like one we just did there, then you've got all the skills you need to be able to solve this. Now let's break it down to the easy stuff. Here's an easy one just to get your brain back going on this. 3x to the second plus 15x. Would you please just factor that? Oh, equals 0. Sorry, equals 0. And just factor it and say equals 0. This is a review question. This is an easy kind. I'll pause for a second while you try that one. Okay, some kids were not sure where to start. Expanded form always is good. Why is that good? Because it helps you see what's in common. Okay, did you notice that there was a 3 in both of them and there was an x in both of them? So it's 3x. And then what's left over didn't get circled. Yes. There we go. I'm going to pause for a second while you look at that. All right, so one more little thing on this. Do you get it's not done? It's factored, but it's not done. To be done, you have to say 3x equals 0 and x plus 5 equals 0. And then there are two little bite-sized equations to solve. Go ahead and do those if you haven't already done them. I'll pause while you try that. All right. Did you divide by 3, divide by 3? I know some people by accident subtract 3 in that situation, but no. It's divide by. And what is 0? Divided by 3? It's 0. And I subtract 5, and I have x equals 0 minus 5, negative 5. So there's my two answers, 0 and negative 5. Okay. Now one more of the kind that's the hardest kind on the test, where you have to factor out something from everything, called GCF. And then you have to factor with two parentheses. So here we go. 3x squared plus 6x plus, let me think this through now, 3. Do you see that there's something in all of them?
Yeah.
So if there's something in all of them, factor it out to the front. I'll pause while you give this a try. 2. Exactly. Yes, that 6 is a 3 times 2. That's called expanding it, and that's smart because then you can see there's a 3 in all of them. Did you get that? Good. So that 3 comes out of all of them, and where does it go? The front. Right there in the front.
I got that.
Then, all of those 3s, what you're really doing when you put a 3 out front is you're dividing everything by 3, which causes all those circled 3s to disappear. And what do I have left?
X squared plus
Come on, you can do this.
1.
No, that's not a 1. I see something else by the 2x. And then the last thing, wait a minute, there's nothing there.
0, 1,
1. You always have a 1 there. Now, if, I know your life doesn't depend on this, but if your life depended on this answer being right, if you really cared, because let's say it's the test. Let's say it's the test, and you want to know, am I doing this right or not? You can multiply it back out and see if you did it right. Watch, 3 times x squared, 3x squared. 3 times the 2x, 6x. 3 times the 1, 3. So you can multiply it back out and see if you did it right. See? It's really powerful to be able to check your answers. And in this case, it's like you can know if you did it right or not. Cool. It's done right. So last step is do that kind of factoring that has the two parentheses. It's really not that bad. What has to go here and here? X and X
plus
plus and plus. How do you make a 1? It's not 2 times something. 1 times 1. 1 times 1. What's your language, young man? 1 times 1 makes 1. Okay, there it is. And then, if I were to give this as my final answer, my teacher would cry a little bit and mark it wrong, because you have never actually answered the question of what is x. So you write this thing as x plus 1 equals 0. And it's a little teeny bite-sized equation. What's the final answer? -1 is it. Now what that means, just so you know, is that if you stuck a -1 back in this equation, here and here, it would actually equal 0. That was the point. We were trying to find what x would make this equal 0. And -1 is the thing that makes it equal 0. I'll prove it. -1 squared is 1. 1 times 3 is 3. 6 times -1 is -6 plus 3. Guess what that adds up to? It equals, what do you think? 0, just like it's supposed to, see? What is the point of the 3? That's a good question. That 3 needed to get factored out to the front so that it wasn't in here anymore. Otherwise, it would have thrown off your answer. So if you're asking, could this 3 have a separate answer, like 3 equals 0? Just ask yourself, does 3 equal 0 make any sense at all? No, so you just throw it out then. You don't need that. All right. Now, your homework for tonight is just like that. It's just like that. We'll do some together. I want to pause for a second. I'll hand it out. Okay, number 1. I'm having a hard time reading it because I don't have my glasses on and I want to put them on. So I'm going to ask you, TW, read number 1.
With P, 2. No, little 2.
You mean squared?
Yeah,
Ah, okay. T squared
plus
plus
8 T plus 12.
Awesome. Now, would you read me the directions? Does it say to solve or to factor?
Factor.
All right. So that means I don't have to say x equals at the end. I just need to factor it. What does factoring mean? 2 sets of parentheses. So this isn't that hard. I ended with the really tough ones. This is just a factoring one. So how do you start, ma'am? What goes here and here? The t's. Why? Because t times t will make t squared. That's what I need. And what about the end? This 12. There's a reason there's a 12 there. It's because there's a whole bunch of different things that multiply to 12. And you won't know until you try it whether you got it right. Yes? 2 and 6 is one of the choices. 2 and 6. And I'm going to try it and find out if I did it right. 3 and 4 also makes 12. But 12 and 1 also makes 12. But let's see if this one works. Now you got to do all 4 parts. Those are all 4 parts. Now, did it actually work?
Yes.
It'll work.
It worked because what 2 parts go together? The 6t and the 2t made 8t, and that's what we wanted it to do. Because now it's the same. You might be like, isn't that the same thing we had at the beginning? Yeah, that's the point. So we were checking to see if our factoring was right. So here's the other way you could have done it. Do you know that 12 is actually 3 times 4? But if you did try and multiply that out, it would not give you the right answer. That's the only way you would have known you did it wrong. That's why you need to multiply it all the way out, so you can tell if it worked. All right, let's do another one. Read me numero 2, sir. That's number 2 in case you don't speak Espanol.
N2. That's into the second.
And the second, good.
Plus 7 and 12.
Awesome. Notice, this time, it's n's. It's pretty much the same thing as t's, right? And then Isn't there more than one way to multiply to get 12? Yeah. Do you think I should use 6 and 2 again?
You should probably use 3 and 4.
Should probably use 3 and 4. Awesome. Should you just assume it's right? No.
I mean, yeah.
I know you'd like to just assume it's right, but you should check it. And if you want a shortcut, here's the shortcut. N times n makes n squared, right? 3 times 4 makes 12. Then the only thing we have to check is the middle ones, the n's. That's the 3n and the 4n. Do you get how they make 7n? So if you can make the big smiley face, you see how there's a smiley face there and there's a big nose, and then I'll make a couple eyes here. Then, I know, it's a little bit clownish. Then you check the outside and the inside ones and made sure that they equal the big nose in the middle.
I see leaders
All right, moving on. I think we can just do the front page of this. So it's simple. Just do the whole front page.
No back page?
Don't scribble. The back page we'll be doing tomorrow. So don't slaughter the back page. Just do the front page. Okay? Save the back page for later. Okay. Yes. I'm sorry, say that again. Do I have to what? Oh, yes. Okay, number 1 was right there. Good question. You want some help with number 5? You want some free help on number 5? All right, I'll help with number 5. I'll come back to this number 1 later. And I can put up number 2 later if you want to also. There's number 2 if you can write fast. But I was asked. All right, number 5. Let me see if I can find my glasses here. There we go. N squared plus 3n. What is the reason you think he told me to do this one? What's different about this one than all the other ones? It has a minus. And it isn't that scary. It still has to have what here and here? Not x, there's no x. N, there you go. And then these other two have to still multiply to 18. So lots of choices.
6 and 3.
6 and 3 makes 18, and I bet that's it. So I'm going with 6 and 3, but one of them's got to be negative. You are correct. Now, if you by accident put the negative in the wrong spot, you will get the wrong answer. I'm going to do it on purpose wrong to show you what I mean. That's a minus and that's a plus. I'll do it quick. Remember me saying that I can kind of cheat by going like this? N times n makes n squared, and 6 times 3 makes 18, so I already did them. And then you make the giant evil smiley face. Watch what happens. The outside makes 3n, the inside makes negative 6n, that makes negative 3n. That's the opposite of what I wanted. So I screwed up something. What do you think I screwed up? Well, if it's ever the opposite of what you wanted, remember how I got negative 3n and I actually supposed to want positive 3n? If it's the opposite of what I wanted, then I change the signs to be the opposite. So this minus here needs to become plus, and this plus needs to become a minus. There you go. That's it. All right. I'm going to do them all, but I'll start with number 8. I'll help you with the beginning of number 8. I agree number 8 is different than all the others. So it is different because it's got something in common. It has a G. You are correct, sir. So then I pull the G out front. I have a G out front now. G, this is called G cubed, but we don't want to be G cubed anymore. It's going to be G. It's already 3. Make it smaller. Squared, there you go. Plus 3, and it's got to have one less G because we're ripping a G out of here and here. 3G, you are correct. And then I rip a G off of that last thing, and you get negative 10. Then you have to factor it again. You can handle it. It's not that bad. It has to be a G here and a G here. It has to be 2 numbers here that multiply to 10. But yeah, you're going to have to check it by multiplying it back out to see if you did it right. All right, that's all I got for you for today.